Speaking of her money, let's talk about Jay-Z. I'm not really going to talk about Jay-Z, but I think that Jay-Z left Easter eggs for his fans. And I'm a Jay-Z fan. Jay-Z been my favorite rapper since I was like 8 years old or 8 or 9, something like that, right? And Jay-Z, he gives little sprinkles, little Easter eggs, right? To deeper, as Joe Budden and his team, or the original JBP cast would say, BP boys would say, deeper, darker criminal link, right? So Hov said on What They Gonna Do Part 2 back in like '02, this Blueprint 2 album, he said, get my SoundScan, BDS, and marketing plan in it. Okay, I'm going to tell you why that's important in a minute. He said, get my SoundScan, BDS, and marketing plan in it. The song is completely unrelated to that line right there, but that line jumps out to me. If y'all ever seen how people who just can see numbers and see, like, that's me. Lines like that, I extract them and just hold them in my brain for the rest of my life. So that just stood out to me. And then fast forward almost 20 years on Meek Mill's song, What's Free? Jay-Z comes through and said, I ain't got 1 billion streams, got $1 billion. Inflating numbers like we supposed to be happy about this. We were praising Billboard, but we were young. Now I look at Billboard like, is you dumb? That was a line also stuck out to me. It just froze in my brain. Like it just came up here. This SoundScan, BDS, and marketing plan. Hove with the whole CEO's mind, that marketing plan was me. Like all of these things just hover in my mind, and I don't know what to do. Like I was a kid when most of these songs come out. I was a kid, but some of these lines just always just floating around in my head, like just randomly. I don't know. It's just in my head. So then I get this idea one day to say, why do people just put so much importance on Billboard? Like Billboard is just like a magazine, like it's a media company. People look at it like it's a music reporting company, but it's a media company. They have narratives, they have opinions, they shape their opinion based on their biases, just like everybody else. But people look at these Billboard lists as if this is just the facts. Like this was the biggest song in the country at this time because Billboard put this out. And that goes to Jay-Z's line. Now I look at Billboard like, is you dumb? Because now he's at the point in his career where he wants to talk about like that's not real. That's just what they say. That's another company could say something completely different. But because Billboard has done such a good job marketing themselves as the authority on music and what's hot at that time, the fans just accept it as that's just the factual information. So I started doing some digging, and then I learned that Billboard and SoundScan BDS was like owned by the same company. And then I did more digging, and I seen where did Billboard start? Where did they come from? Shout out to Ohio. That's another Ohio business. They started in Ohio. But Billboard was pretty much like the word itself. Billboard was like bill posting. And what bill posting mean is that essentially don't post your flyers on like boards anymore. That's what they used to do back in the late 1800s or early 1900s. Just like how we know street teams in modern day, they would take their flyers and advertisements for their business because there really wasn't much magazine or anything like that. They would take those flyers and they would just post them on walls all over the place. That's how they marketed stuff back in the day, right? So Billboard was to replace that, right? Bill posting board. Just shorten it. Billboard. Come put it in our book, right? Just come put all your this is an advertisement company. They don't like even more than like music opinions or anything. They are an advertising. They're a place for you to advertise, right? That has been since day one of their inception. That's not a new thing where let's try to manipulate the numbers. No, from day one of Billboard's existence, before it was called Billboard magazine or Billboard, whatever, their whole thing was about, hey, come put your ads here with us. That's what they do. So seeing that, I found that out. Then I fast forward, and they used to, so pretty much when they first were making their charts and all that, they essentially were just making it up, right? They were just saying what they think is the biggest stuff based on what they hear on the radio. You know, the most, or whatever scanners they had at that time, which they weren't doing scanners, they were doing surveys. What they were doing was getting surveys from radio companies and saying, what songs are y'all playing the most right now? And whatever radio companies they called that they got information from, and then when they would call record stores and they would say, hey, what did you sell the most of this week? And whatever the person on the phone said to them, they would mark that down, and then they would make a chart based on what they heard from these surveys. Literally, they would. So if they didn't call, if they never called Master P's record shop out in Stockton, California, or Richmond, California, if they never called them, they wouldn't know what he was selling out of there. You see what I'm saying? Because there's no way they could call every single record store in the country. They weren't trying to either. They were just trying to get like a little sample size, and then they would like build out. They would project what this probably means for the whole country, right? So it was a guess. Do y'all think they was calling like black communities to find out what they was playing the most or selling the most of? No. Okay, that's another conversation. But I'm just telling you, they were essentially just grabbing these numbers out of thin air. And so a record store could just say whatever they felt like saying on the call. The radio could just say anything, or the radio could just play whatever they felt like playing and just say, yeah, I'm playing this song. This is the best song right now. And that would be it. And with Clear Channel running everything in the radio space, they could easily manipulate what was the biggest song in the country at any given time. That's how Billboard ran for the majority of the time that we all as consumers understand what Billboard is. Then in more recent times, when the streaming thing started taking over, so then they start making other changes and all this other stuff. The company, the BDS whole thing, they phased that out. That's no longer in business anymore. BDS was broadcast data systems or something like that. That was one of the ways that they track stuff. So now it's all through Nielsen. And Nielsen is owned by the same people that owns Billboard. So the reason I think that's important is because this is all about advertising. Nielsen also works with, and let me read, because people are going to think this is just some crazy conspiracy thing. I'm going to read off of Nielsen's website. I'm going to read to you what it says on their website about advertisers. Right? Give me 1 second to pull this up. Okay. Because a lot of people, just like me, have the same questions. So it's being asked to Nielsen so much. How are y'all tracking these numbers that they have a whole page on their website dedicated to it? Nielsen.com. Okay. Audio measurement. I'm just going to read all of this because it's all important. It's all important. Today's media environment is highly complex and is becoming increasingly difficult for advertisers to understand how to plan their advertising and deliver optimal results. Again, this is Nielsen's website. It's asking you how they measure audio, and they start out talking about how advertisers can measure results. Nielsen makes it easy for advertisers to measure their audio channel activations and determine the rightful place in the media mix. Through a variety of measurement technologies, we're able to hone in on the key performance indicators that illustrate how your audio campaigns reach engaged local and national audiences. Combined with our television and digital measurement capabilities, we're able to show you how audio specifically and uniquely affects your overall campaign strategy. Nielsen measures all things audio broadcast, radio, streaming, podcasting in all corners of the country and across platforms. We utilize best-in-class audience measurement techniques to recruit and maintain representative participation from all segments of the population, including hard-to-reach demographics. What does that mean? That means Nielsen is still using the same methodology as SoundScan, not to say they're calling radio stations, but they have participants that consistently give them data on what they're listening to, what they're playing, all this other stuff, right? Nielsen uses that to project out now. So they're not tracking everything, every stream and everything coming from every radio station, every streaming platform, and everywhere else, right? They're not tracking everything. They have a few strategic partners that they feel covers all demographics. They use that information and then they extrapolate, right? They come up with numbers based on that. And then they don't even come up with numbers. Nielsen works exclusive. Hold on. No. Illuminate. Okay, so here we go. Let me go. There's so much about this whole thing, man. It's just So this is what on Billboard's website, this is how they said they calculate or how they do their whole Hot 100 thing. So our Hot 100 formula targets a ratio of sales being 35 to 45%, airplay being 30 to 40%, and streaming being 20 to 30%. That's on Billboard's website. That was an article from 2013. I'm sure the splits are different now, but essentially those are the three main areas that they use to calculate what's going to be number one and what's not. Sales, airplay, and streaming. Airplay being radio and internet radio, what they call programmed radio, and streaming. So that's all music streaming platforms. That's Apple Music, Tidal, Spotify, and you got things like YouTube they consider streaming. You have stuff like Pandora, anything like that. They count all that stuff, right? But here's the thing, right? They don't account for what's like advertisements, right? They don't deduct ads. So if I, as a record label, pay for my artist's music to be played 100 times a day or 1,000 times a day, whatever, they don't deduct that. That's still counted as airplay because, again, they're using scanners and sensors and stuff like that to track what's being played. And the music has to be, I think they said it got to be played for 30 seconds to count, something like that. So if you notice, if you're listening to the radio, you might be listening to, I still listen to the radio. If you're listening to the radio, it'll be a commercial segment, right? And then randomly a song will start playing and then it'll cut off and be like, advertise the radio station. That's an ad right there. So you won't hear the host of the radio show. You won't hear the DJ. You won't hear them come back in. You'll just be listening to, it'll be an ad and then you'll hear a regular commercial, which you think is a commercial. And then a song will just start playing. And then it'll go back to another ad after that. That song that's being played is an advertisement right there. But it counts for this scanning that Billboard is doing. It counts for that. You see what I'm saying? So that goes back to the SoundScan, BDS, and marketing plan in it, right? From Jay-Z. He was telling us right then, I knew how to use my money to make those things part. Our marketing plan involves paying for that stuff. SoundScan, BDS, our marketing plan goes to manipulating that. And when he said, I ain't got a big inflating numbers like we supposed to be happy about this. Meaning I can boost up the numbers to get what I want out of these charts and lists because I know that the return is going to be XYZ because this is what the fans think is good. This is what the fans think is cool. This is what the fans think is hot. I can use my money to put ads out and my ads will be just the song playing on a radio station. That's the ad right there. That's why if you paid attention, you always heard rappers say stuff about, I'm waiting for the label to push the button. The label pushed the button and the floodgates open. That's what they mean by that. Push the button means pay for an ad. Pay for that national radio run. That's what that means. That's what they're trying to say. That's what some people, when they get mad and they go on these rants, that's what they say in these rants. But Hov put it in the music for us to just listen to it and say. But if you do the research, you see that these reporting companies, this is all about advertising. This is not about accurately reporting how much music is being sold or consumed by consumers. This is for Billboard and Nielsen. Their whole thing is around how can we help advertisers better understand the audience and better spend their money advertising to these audiences. They're not just freely giving that information out. You have to be a subscriber, and it costs a lot of money to subscribe to get weekly or daily updates from Nielsen. It costs a whole lot of money. So somebody like me, I wouldn't be able to afford that. You see what I'm saying? This is stuff that radio stations and labels and big media companies, they pay for that because they want their ratings. They want to understand their ratings. They want to understand who's doing what. Man, I'm so all over the place with it because this Billboard thing has a long, complex history with this. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of moving parts. This company has been bought and sold. They've been doing mergers. It's just crazy, right? There's a lot going on with this. I'm really saying I want people to go research it. Honestly, you go research it. Y'all go look this up because it's a lot of craziness going on with this whole thing. This whole thing is just wild, right? And I was probably mixing some things up because I'm trying to talk too fast. I just read it. I just read all type of stuff on this. Illuminate, the data company that does all of the scanning and everything for Billboard, they took over for they got rid of BDS. They're the ones doing all the reporting now and all the tracking and stuff like that now, right? Nielsen is doing what they're doing, and they all work together. Okay, they all work together. It's a bunch of foolishness going on, but one thing that you keep in mind, those Billboard charts are much more closely aligned with what record labels are spending money versus what record labels are not. It's much more closely aligned with marketing budgets than it is with what music is actually good or hot at that time. Right? So you could think back to some songs that we thought were huge at whatever time in history, then you go look at where they were on the charts and you're like, damn, this song was only like number 40. This song was only like number 30 on this chart. Like, how is this possible? I heard this song every day, everywhere I went, multiple times a day. How is it possible that this song was only? That's why. Because this stuff wasn't paid advertisement, so it wasn't gonna get boosted up like that. You see what I'm saying? They had a rule back in the day where, because I know some people look at it like, how is it possible that Michael Jackson don't have the most number ones? They had a rule back in the day that said, if a song wasn't, let's just say a song was on the radio, but it wasn't for sale, it wasn't eligible to be on any Billboard list, not the Hot 100 anyway. Right? So let's just say you put out a single before you put your album out, and let's just say that single was hot for 6 months or something like that, then it kind of died down. For that whole 6 months, your song wasn't even eligible to be on the Billboard chart. Like, at all. You had to wait till the album came out and it was available for sale. Now it's a Billboard Hot 100 eligible song. That's how it ran until like 98 or 97, 98. Once they started to include music that not only was for sale, but also like radio airplay without sale, the first number one song immediately was Lauryn Hill. That Thing. That thing. That was the first number one song under the new system of allowing songs. You see what I'm saying? So I say that to say, Billboard changing their rules to match modern what's going on at the time, like newer technologies and stuff like that. That's why you've seen an explosion of black rappers having number one songs. It's because for a long time they weren't even included in what was going on because Billboard wasn't tracking the consumption from those places. Like, so where black people was consuming a lot of our hip hop music and stuff like that, they weren't consulting with those record companies. I mean, they weren't consulting with those record stores. They weren't calling the urban radio stations. They wasn't doing that. So we could have had number one songs for many, many years. We could have been, rap could have been dominating music. But because of the way this whole reporting thing was going on and how Billboard has shaped the minds of the people to believe that everything on their list is just fact-based, rap music was impacted by that, and how rap music was viewed was impacted by that. So that's all I got on that, man. I really just I want everybody to research Billboard's history. That's what I want you to do. Research Billboard's history, and so you can see that everything about this company is all about advertising, is 0 parts music reporting, 100% advertising. I won't say 0. Let me say it's, we're going to say it's 80% advertising and 20% reporting.